The highway stretched endlessly under the pale glow of the moon. Mark was eerily empty, stretching into the darkness like a never-ending abyss. It was since she got in, only nodded when he asked where she was headed. Her stillness was unnatural, as if she weren't even breathing. Mark glanced at the rearview mirror. She sat unnervingly still, her hands folded in her lap. The silence was suffocating. Trying to shake off his unease, he turned on the radio, but static filled the car. Then, through the distortion, a voice, raspy, inhuman, hissed, "You shouldn't have picked her up." His breath hitched. He turned off the radio, but his heartbeat thudded in his ears. A few miles ahead, a road sign loomed, illuminated by his headlights, Crescent Hollow Cemetery. 2 miles. A chill crawled down his spine. He stole another glance at the mirror, but his breath caught in his throat. She was gone. His heart pounded as he whipped his head around. The seat was empty. He hit the brakes, the car skidding to a stop. Hands trembling, he reached for his phone to call someone, anyone. Then he heard it. A whisper, close to his ear. Low, distorted, stretching into his very bones. "Take me home." Cold breath brushed against his neck. A paralyzing dread coiled around his spine. He turned, but there was no one. The silence returned, heavier than before. Then, in the mirror, he saw her reflection staring back at him. Her hood slipped back, revealing hollow, blackened eyes, a gaping mouth stretched unnaturally wide, her jaw unhinged as if she were screaming without a sound. The car door locks clicked shut. The engine roared to life on its own, and the car lurched forward, speeding toward the cemetery. The air grew thick with the scent of decay, and whispers filled the car, growing into a chorus of tormented voices, chanting in an unknown language, rising in intensity. Mark screamed, his fingers clawing at the doors. His reflection in the mirror changed, his eyes blackened, his skin stretched tight over his bones, his mouth opened in a silent, agonized scream. The speedometer needle jerked violently, spinning out of control. The headlights flickered, and for a split second, the road disappeared. The world outside the car became a void of swirling shadows and whispering figures pressing against the windows, their hollow eyes watching him, their skeletal fingers tapping on the glass. The car veered violently. He struggled to regain control, but it was useless. His limbs felt heavy, his vision blurred. He blinked rapidly, trying to focus. The woman was back, in the passenger seat this time. Her head slowly turned toward him, her mouth splitting into an impossibly wide, jagged grin. "Almost home?" she rasped. Summoning every ounce of strength, Mark gritted his teeth and yanked the steering wheel, sending the car spinning off the road. It crashed into a ditch, the impact jarring his senses. He gasped for air, heart hammering, but the whispers had stopped. The eerie presence was gone. Dazed, he stumbled out of the wrecked car. The cemetery gates loomed nearby, rusted and ancient. But he wasn't alone. The woman stood at the entrance, her form flickering like a dying flame. For the first time, she spoke, not in a whisper, but in a soft, sorrowful voice. "Thank you for setting me free." And just like that, she vanished, dissolving into the morning mist as the first rays of sunlight broke over the horizon. Mark stood there, shaken but alive, realizing he had not been her victim, but her savior.